Welcome to Watchman on the Wall, a daily outreach of Southwest Radio Ministries and SWRC.com. Welcome to a brand new week of Christ-centered clarity amidst the chaos. This week, Jeff Kinley is here revealing the end of the world according to Jesus. Larry Stamm will debut his brand new book, Live Out Loud. And today, precious metals expert Philip Patrick will help us navigate the current economic climate and help us safeguard our savings. All of us at Watchman on the Wall and Southwest Radio Ministries want to send a huge thank you to everyone who attended this past weekend's Prophecy in the News Live event in New Prague, Minnesota. And a special and heartfelt thank you to the congregation and staff of Hill Spring Church for their hospitality in hosting this special event. Be sure to check out the events page of our website, SWRC.com, for all the details on our upcoming events in Tennessee and Gettysburg. Friends, we're visiting today with Philip Patrick. He is our friend from Birch Gold. He is a precious metals specialist, and we have him on the program from time to time to give us the inside scoop, if you will, on what is going on in the world of economics, of the financial world, what is happening not only here in the United States, but around the world, whether it is gold, precious metals, inflation, taxation, all the different things that are going on, and we're just like about to pull our hair out trying to make sense of all of it. Well, Philip is here to help us do that, and we welcome you back to the program, sir. Thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Well, let's get started with the topic of inflation, which I just find absolutely fascinating because, number one, we know inflation is real. Anybody that goes to the grocery store knows that inflation is not just a real thing, but that it is crippling a lot of families and a lot of families' budgets. We know that. And yet, recently, the New York Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Expectations said that the 3-year inflation outlook is only 2.3%, the lowest since June of 2013. So, okay, which is it? Is inflation really out of control like we see when we buy things? Or is it starting to level off? Or is it even going lower? What's the deal? What's the truth? What's really going on when it comes to inflation?
Look, I think as American consumers, we all know the reality of inflation, and that is that it is still persistently high. We've got to remember part of the Fed's job is to ease concern amongst the populace, and I think their job is to keep people calm, and I think a lot of their rhetoric is geared around that. But the reality is, inflation is proving very sticky, and I think will continue to do so. So as you mentioned, we have the New York Fed saying over the next 3 years, they think it's going to come down to 2.3%. Well, first of all, 2.3% is still about 10 or more than 10%, about 15% above the Federal Reserve's target of 2%. So number one, it's not a great deal to celebrate, but there are a lot of dissenting voices. Look at Jamie Dimon, for example, the CEO of JP Morgan, the largest bank in the world. He's suggesting that inflation is going to be sticky, and I think it'll be a long, long time until we get to the Federal Reserve's target. And his rationale has been simple, and he's been warning us for more than a year that inflation is going to be a lot stickier than officials expect. He said last month that although there'd been some progress in bringing down the official inflation rate, there are still multiple inflationary forces in front of us. And his concern is, and I share it, that the slowdown inflation is the transitory part, not inflation itself. I disagree a little bit with the New York Fed. I'm more on the side of Jamie Dimon, that inflation is going to be a big problem for years to come.
Well, we saw recently a recession indicator, and I hate to use the R word, but there was a recession indicator called the SAM rule, which was triggered by unemployment numbers. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so look, we've seen unemployment numbers come out, and they weren't good. June job numbers came out 62% under expectations, and official employment has ticked up to 4.3%. This is the highest level since 2021, and what that did was trigger something called the SAM rule. which has accurately predicted the last 11 recessions with no false positives. Now, we may think that inflation at 4.3%, unemployment is still quite low, but we've got to remember a couple of things. First of all, the inflation rate was just 4.4% when the SAM rule was triggered just before the great financial crisis. Secondly, job growth data, and this kind of ties into the Federal Reserve as well, has been massively overstated for the last 3 years. Bloomberg's chief economist, Anna Wong, analyzed the numbers and determined that the administration had overstated jobs by about 730,000 over the last 3 quarters alone. That's over 81,000 fake jobs a month. On top of that, virtually all of the job growth over the last 2 years has either been in government jobs paid for by deficit spending or in part-time jobs. So what's clear is that the economy simply isn't healthy. And I think based on the SAM rule, we'll fall into recession very, very soon.
So we hear people talking about inflation, and whether it's during political campaigns or whatnot, but now we're starting to hear the word recession. Has that always been kind of on the periphery, on the horizon, or is that something that has just recently come about when you look at the economic indicators and the numbers and the data out there?
Look, I think it's been brewing for a long time. We've seen a period of unprecedented global boom since the crisis back in 2008, and it was met around the world with the lowering of interest rates and huge money printing. What that did was have the effect to drive global markets up. But we've been expecting recession, I think, for quite a while here in the United States. So this isn't news. If we look at how market makers, they've been looking at the Fed for any sign of a rate cut to try and drive the economy forward. But I think what we're seeing now is the fundamentals are coming home to roost, and a long overdue recession, I think, is on the very short-term horizon.
We're visiting today with Philip Patrick. He is a precious metal specialist with Birch Gold. You can learn more at birchgold.com/SWRC. They have a special gold kit, information kit, specifically for our listeners here at Watchman on the Wall. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. But Philip, we've talking about recession, we're talking about inflation, and then on August the 5th, we saw the stock market tumble over 1,000 points. The S&P 500 posted its worst day since 2022 when you had a global market sell-off. Okay, so then what do people do that have their retirement invested in these stocks?
Listen, Monday was a rough day, right? The Biden administration's Goldilocks narratives, I think, was finally overran by angry bears. And forgive me if it sounds clear, but it's essentially true. We saw a massive wave of risk aversion sweep the globe, and it was driven by a few things, a lot of which we've discussed already. We saw job numbers coming in way under expectation. The unemployment report triggered the SAM rule, which, like we said, has accurately predicted the last 11 recessions with no false flags. And then, and this one came out of left field, we saw the Bank of Japan raising interest rates from 0 to 0.25%, which sparked a crisis in the yen carry trade and forced the combination of these lot of investors to realize they've got a lot more to lose than to gain right now, and they responded accordingly. But in answer to what we do about it, look, we've got to understand the problems that we're seeing with this economic slowdown. It's not just here in the United States. It's a global problem, right? Germany and pretty much the whole Eurozone, UK, Japan, and China are all in recession. And it's because the whole world is dealing with a massive debt overhang, really since the pandemic panic. And there's a reason central banks have bought record quantities of gold over the last 2 years, and it looks like 2024 is going to be another historic year. Governments around the world are hedging their bets, and with physical gold, it's just about the only financial asset that can't be devalued, it can't be defaulted on. And in fact, Goldman Sachs analysts have recently reported, and I quote, long positions on gold now offer portfolios the greatest hedging value. And what I say a lot, and I want to say again, what applies to the big guys, to central governments, to institutional investors, this stuff applies to us, right? They're facing the same problem. They're seeing buying power of assets being devalued, and gold is a solution in climates like this to the problems that we have.
Well, then we have folks listening right now that are like, okay, so what can I do about it? I don't own any gold. I just checked my basement, still no gold. Checked my vault at the house, still no gold. I had a family member who listens regularly to our program, and they heard our last conversation, Philip, that you and I had, and this family member came to me and said, hey, can you tell me more about this gold thing that you guys were talking about on the program? And I thought to myself, exactly, because, Philip, you always talk about education, getting the information is always key. But for that family member of mine and for the other folks that are listening right now all across the country today, they see the inflation, they hear the rumblings of possible recession, the stock market numbers going down, all of those kinds of things, and they're like, okay, number one, can I do anything about it? And if I can, what is that? What can I do?
Well, it's very simple. I think it all starts with information. So for your listeners, we have a special sort of website to go to. It is birchgold.com/SWRC. Again, birchgold.com/SWRC. For those who prefer the phone, they can call 800-422-3388. Again, 800-422-3388. And what this is going to do, number one, it's going to give them access to a free information kit, totally free. It's about 25, 26 pages, I think. And it's going to give them information not only on why to buy gold in the current climate, but also how, right? How you can move a portion of an IRA or a 401k into physical metals, or a little bit of cash in the bank account losing to inflation, how you can protect that, again, with physical metals. So the key for us is information, right? We want to make sure people are informed, because with good information, we can make good decisions. So birchgold.com/SWRC. Everyone start there, start getting informed. And from there, I think the solutions will be simple.
Well, Philip, when people hear about, well, the speculation that's out there, let's talk about that for a second. The speculation that's out there that the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. Do you think that that is a realistic thought, or is that something that is being talked about because it's political season?
It's political season. Listen, I think it's going to go the other way. The Fed are likely going to cut interest rates this year. There's a lot of pressure right now with recession on the horizon to do it. They're suggesting probably a 0.25 point cut at some point later this year. But what people have to realize is that doesn't bode well for the inflationary problem. And that's kind of the issue that we have. The Fed at the moment are stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? If they want to rescue the economy and prevent a recession, the way for them to do that is to drop interest rates and start pumping money through the economy. The issue with that, by doing that, it's going to fuel the inflationary problem, right? So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They don't want to raise interest rates, cause a recession. They want to lower interest rates to stimulate the economy, but they don't want to let inflation run away. So I think it's a case of pick your poison. This idea that there's going to be a soft landing, I think, is a fallacy. And I think people need to prepare for a hard landing. And whether that's in the form of, a downturn in the economy or rising inflation, like I said, it's a case of pick your poison. But precious metals are a way to protect against either eventuality.
Now, I know we've talked about in the past when folks go to the website and get their free information kit on precious metals, on gold, one of the things you talk about in that information kit is how to protect your retirement savings, whether it's your IRA or your 401k. How exactly is purchasing precious metals going to actually protect folks' savings? How does that actually happen?
Well, the key is just, look, in an asset where everything is becoming more expensive, i.e. inflation, or we're seeing downturns in the economy, the way to fix those issues is with growth, right? And that's the idea with gold. Being a safe haven asset these same problems like inflation, downturns in the economy, dollar devaluation, these things that erode the buying power of cash positions, they actually drive gold up, right? When inflation is rising, what does that do to the price of gold? It pushes it up. When the dollar is falling in value, what does that do to the price of gold? It pushes it up. So the idea is by your assets growing, right, you're protecting your money's ability to buy, right? And the worst thing that can happen in an inflationary climate is things get more expensive and your money goes down in value. So it's about finding an asset that is geared to grow in the climate that we're in. And like I said, given the problems that we have today, gold is about the best asset to grow in these climates, which, by the way, is why central banks have set records over the last 2.5 years for gold buying, because it is the most conducive asset for the problems that we have.
I know a lot of our listeners to Watchman on the Wall have worked very hard, many of them for a number of decades. They've saved their money. They've put money away. Many of them have invested in 401ks, in IRAs, individual retirement accounts. And when you look at what's going on, it doesn't take long to look at the headlines and just kind of start scratching your head and start to get that little seed of doubt in your mind of, okay, I spent 30, 40 plus years saving, putting this money away. Is it truly safe?
Then listen, I agree, and that's the battle we all have, right? We work and work and work. We sort of bury our head in the sand and we build for retirement. And the key is that it's there when we need it, right? The number one rule of retirement is not outliving your retirement savings, right? And that's kind of the idea here with gold. I don't think it's a case of people putting every egg in one basket, but it's a case of saying, look, we need some measure of portfolio insurance, right? What part of the portfolio is going to grow if we see a recession? What part of the portfolio is going to grow during an inflationary climate? And that's what precious metals will achieve. So, like I said, we're not saying sell the car, sell the house, and move everything into metals, but it's a case of making sure you have an element of insurance for the portfolio. And in this sort of climate, precious metals provide that insurance.
And I want to once again encourage everyone who's listening right now, at the very least today, go to birchgold.com/SWRC. There you'll be able to get your free information kit on gold from Birch Gold. And if you'd like, you can just call and request your free information kit. The number is a special number, and it is for our listeners to Watchman on the Wall. It's 1-800-422-3388. Let me say that again, 1-800-422-3388, or just visit birchgold.com/SWRC. One more question, Philip, before we let you head out of here today. We see a lot, since you and I talked last, a lot has changed in the presidential election. New candidates on one side, lots of campaign speeches, lots of policies and ideas being rolled out on both sides. What you have seen so far out of both of the candidates, I'm not asking who you're going to vote for or anything like that, but from an economic policy standpoint and a precious metals standpoint, should we be encouraged or should we be concerned at this point?
Politics is certainly going to have an effect longer term on the economy. And, I think in terms of just purely economic policies, I would have a preference one way over the other. But I will say it's marginal. And I'll say this, I think at the end of the day, whoever gets in, it doesn't change the situation for precious metals. And I'll sort of explain why. And I think I touched on some of this the last time we spoke. But, look at Trump's economic policy. A lot of them I agree with, right? He's talking about bringing back manufacturing here to the United States. He's talking about opening up pipelines so we are not only energy independent, but we can become an energy provider. These policies I do think are important, and I do think it's the direction we should go. But people have to realize, right, onshoring manufacturing, that's not going to be done with a click of the fingers, right? And that takes a decade to materialize. Reopening pipelines, That's going to take half a decade or longer. So the reality is whoever wins this election, they have a very tough job in front of them, right? They can't click their fingers and make $35 trillion of debt disappear. They can't, I don't think, motivate the BRICS nations to start re-dollarizing again. So, look, elections are always important because they change the trajectory that we're heading on, but it doesn't change the economy short to medium term. We have a storm to weather no matter who gets in. That's my opinion.
We've been visiting today with our friend Philip Patrick from Birch Gold. Philip is a precious metals specialist, and he comes on the program from time to keep us informed and to keep us updated on what is happening when it comes to the financial world, the financial realm, and specifically how you can be protected, your savings, your 401k, your IRA. And our friends today, and Philip has for us today, a free information kit that's been put together talking about gold and precious metals, and it is specifically designed for our Watchman on the Wall listeners. There's two ways you can request your free information kit. One is to visit birchgold.com/SWRC, Southwest Radio Church. birchgold.com/SWRC. The other way is to just call 1-800-422-3388. That's 1-800-422-3388. It is imperative, my friends, that you get the education, the information that you need to protect your retirement savings, to safeguard your IRA or your 401k. This free information kit on precious metals is yours right now when you visit birchgold.com/SWRC or simply call 1-800-422-3388. Philip, thank you as always for the information, the insight, and the analysis. We appreciate it very much and look forward to having you back on the program soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
The latest news is filled with ominous information about the economy. Mixed messages about the stock market and inflation are everywhere. To help us make sense of the headlines, we've been visiting today with Philip Patrick, precious metals specialist with Birch Gold. Make sure you learn how to protect your retirement savings. Request your free precious metals information kit from Birch Gold. Visit birchgold.com/SWRC. That's birchgold.com/SWRC. Or you can simply call 1-800-422-3388. Learn how gold and silver can protect your savings. birchgold.com/SWRC or call 1-800-422-3388. I want to encourage you to visit the Resource Center on our website, swrc.com. There you'll find over 1,000 books and DVDs by the nation's top teachers, Bible prophecy, biblical mysteries, and the latest archaeology and apologetics are all found at swrc.com. That's swrc.com. The latest resources from Billy Crone, Lonnie Shipman, Micah Van Huss, and Josh Davis are all found at swrc.com. And available for the very first time, the entire Columbus, Ohio Prophecy Conference. All 12 speakers, 20 total presentations, 1 complete DVD set. Topics include secret societies, invisible war on the saints, Jewish roots of Christianity, the earth as it was, unveiling the Antichrist, One World Update, and much more. Included in this complete set is Jonathan Cahn's special presentation on the Josiah Manifesto. Order the complete Columbus Conference DVD set today when you call 1-800-652-1144. That's 1-800-652-1144. You can also order at our website, swrc.com. Friends, we're so glad you're here today. If you're a new listener to Watchman on the Wall, make sure you request your new listener pack. Inside, you'll find the latest issue of our Prophetic Observer newsletter and a special gift. Request your free new listener pack when you call 1-800-652-1144. That's 1-800-652-1144. Did you know that Watchman on the Wall is available as a mobile app? Take Watchman on the Wall with you by downloading our free mobile app. Visit your app store and type the letters SWRC in the search bar. The SWRC mobile app has hundreds of archive programs as well as the latest program available to you. The SWRC mobile app. Download it today. Friends, we have been sharing with you our financial needs this summer, and God heard us. We asked, and you are responding. Today, I'm excited to announce a very special $100,000 matching gift opportunity. Thanks to the generosity of a group of supporters, beginning right now through September 30th, every dollar given to Southwest Radio Ministries will be matched. Your gifts will be doubled up to $100,000. So right now, your gift of any amount will go twice as far. You can give at our website, swrc.com, or by calling 1-800-652-1144. Thank you for your continued support of Watchman on the Wall and Southwest Radio Ministries. Brand new resources from SWRC are now available. Josh Davis's brand new book, Rise of the One World Mind, shows the reader how to thrive under the threat of globalism. Micah Van Huss's new book, Secret Societies, Blood Never Sleeps. Join Micah as he takes a look inside the secret societies that have shaped our world today. Rise of the One World Mind and Secret Societies, two brand new resources available for you and your family from SWRC. Order your copies today when you call 1-800-652-1144. That's 1-800-652-1144. All of us at Watchman on the Wall and Southwest Radio Ministries want to send a huge thank you to everyone who attended this past weekend's Prophecy in the News Live event in New Prague, Minnesota. And a special and heartfelt thank you to the congregation and staff of Hill Spring Church for their hospitality in hosting this special event. Be sure to check out the events page of our website, swrc.com, for all the details on our upcoming events in Tennessee and Gettysburg. Tomorrow, author and prophecy teacher Jeff Kinley will begin a brand new series exploring the end of the world according to Jesus. Be sure to tune in on your favorite radio station or by subscribing to our daily Watchman on the Wall podcast. Watchman on the Wall is a production of Southwest Radio Ministries and is supported by faithful listeners like you. Visit swrc.com.